Hey everybody, J-Man here, back in the Danger Room, and we are talking with some X-Men fans. So I put a message out there to everybody, and if you're a fan of X-Men and you want to come, just talk some geek stuff here, it's an open forum. So come on in and join me in the Danger Room, and we're going to talk some X-Men. So I got a few people lined up today. As always, we're going to keep it to around 15 to 20 minutes tops per person. And it's going to be pretty free flowing. I'll have a couple of questions just to kind of start us off, and we'll kind of go smoothly from there and see where it goes, see where it takes us. All right, so we're going to get our first guest here. I'm going to phase him in. Let's get him in. Hey, Javier, how's it going, man?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. All right, so Javier's wearing a shirt that I have. I also have that shirt, and I've got different costumes. And
yeah,
yeah,
supposed to be a New Mutant shirt, but it's more of a kind of X-Force New Mutant shirt, which is okay.
Yeah,
I don't mind.
Which is okay.
Got Skids and Rusty in there, and a weird cannonball costume.
Cannonball costume, yeah, the weird cannonball costume. So yeah. I actually have the artist. So I didn't tell you this earlier, but the artist who did that shirt is actually someone I'm contacting.
I thought you were gonna pull him out from the side.
No. Yeah, no. So I've actually contacted him through Instagram, and he's interested to come on to talk.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, and it's so funny because I've been buying his shirts anyways, so it's not even like
it works out.
It works out. So I'm thinking this is great. All right. Okay.
Let me just say quickly about myself. Quick.
Yeah,
Javier,
for sure. Yeah.
Lifelong comic fan. I'm 40 something years old. I've been working in comic stores since I was 18, maybe 17. I also used to do conventions. Used to work with dealers and conventions. I was lucky enough to make the circuit around the USA.
Awesome.
Doing San Diego, doing New York, San Francisco, and I'm just very lucky working with great dealers and some are working in not the business, but around the comic business, which is really fun. I worked in a lot of the New York stores till the pandemic hit, kind of knocked me on its butt.
Yeah.
But, just alive and kicking, and I love comics. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So one would think that after working 8 hours at a comic store, you wouldn't spend the next 4 hours with comics. But unfortunately, I'm that guy.
That's great. Well, we can tell by your background that you're into comics. So
yeah, same as yours.
Same as mine. Yes. Do you have any ink? Have you put?
I have one ink, and it's actually dedicated to my brother. I lost him when I was younger.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And it's okay. But he actually introduced me to comics, and it's an Is from the Max.
The Max, yes.
The Max. I'm a huge Sam Keith fan.
Oh my gosh,
ridiculous Sam Keith fan.
That's all. We'll have to do a talk maybe sometime about them. I actually collected a lot of the Max, and when it first started, so I have like the first printings, first issues when it came out. Bought it off the rack. The art is amazing. Book. And the cartoon, I've got the animated series as well, which was fun.
Yeah.
But okay, let's get into some X-Men talk. So how did you get into X-Men? Like let's say specifically, or New Mutants, or whatever faction is your favorite.
Well, like I mentioned before, I have my older brother, and whenever he would step outside, I'd of course creep to his room and go through his comics. And there's nothing worse than your brother busting into a room and reading his comics. He'd drop it and he'd yell at me. Then after a while, he just kind of gave in. It was like, hey, just read them. And it would just be random spattering those X-Men issues here, there, Gambit, Storm stuff, Extinction Agenda, all that stuff. And then, when it came time to work, and someone was like, hey, why don't you work in a comic store? And that never occurred to me. I was like,
that's awesome.
I was like, wait, I could do that? I started working in a comic store, and then just from there, just kind of just fell into that pit.
Your entire paycheck was Did you get money for your paycheck, or did you get
Uh,
comic books as your paycheck?
I was always smart enough to get money, but I
Right.
mean, I'm not gonna lie. There was always a bunch of it going to collectibles because a discount and
Yeah.
at that time just buying figures, buying toys, buying comics. I've always been lucky enough though to not actually buy individual comics. I'm strictly a graphic novel guy.
I see. So you get the trades.
I do trades and I like to consider myself. I try to get out of print trades
Yep.
because I always feel that kind of stuff just kind of gets lost in the background sometimes.
Mhm.
And you miss these incredible stories. And there's people here that have never heard of some of these storylines. So I always want to try to rescue those guys and throw them out there in the world. And people are like, "What? That happened?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I got proof."
Yeah,
There's a
yeah,
book.
yeah.
Look
Well, I
behind
always,
me.
yeah. I mean, sometimes if I was forced, if I had to get trades, then I would just get them because it is what it is. I had to get, what I could get. When I was a kid, I would just kind of, it was hard to collect exactly because you would just go and there wasn't comic shops. Like people think now, oh, you just go to your comic shop. But when I was a
Mhm.
kid, my comic shop was like a 25-minute drive or something, or a 20-minute
Oof,
drive, and no one was going to take me. So I got comics from the convenience store. I would get it from like
newsstand.
you, right? And the thing is, you'd
Wow.
go there and you'd literally just get what you could. So it was like
Yeah.
I would collect X-Men and West Coast Avengers and Defenders and this kind of thing. And I'd miss issues. I'd get Spider-Man
Yeah. Yeah.
318, and then I missed 319. You're like, oh,
Of course. Yeah. The same way
so
with me.
trades
Just
helped.
random smatterings. But I mean, it's also a great way to kind of broaden your horizons because you're not an X-Men fan. You're a whatever's on the rack fan.
Yep.
And now,
Yep.
now your tastes start expanding, and you're reading Sergeant Rock, and you're reading
Yeah.
X Men, and you're reading Shazam, and you're
Yeah.
reading, Our World's at War, and it's like
Yeah.
you have this incredible like fountain of just like your tastes are everywhere. And growing up, I mean, you look back in your childhood, you're like, wow, I'm lucky. You're lucky that you got to read a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
You
no,
know?
it is, and yeah, and my tastes are so broad, and
Yeah,
I never looked at DC versus Marvel. I know that's kind of a thing now. That was never
yeah,
really a thing, at least when I was a kid. Probably you too. We
mm,
we liked everybody. Like Superman's my favorite comic book character. He's one of my favorite characters of all time.
mm,
And then I started getting into X-Men. Cyclops is my favorite. Jean
mm,
also. I like Wolverine. Obviously, I. I,
yeah.
I, I tell this story. I told this story last time. When I was 16, I went
Oh, I
and
heard that. Yeah,
yeah, I dressed up as Wolverine, and it's the Wolverine from the
yeah, the
Wolverine
patch.
one where he's standing over the dead body. So yeah, and I had
Yeah,
like the gray eyes, and I did my hair, and I had the claws, and I had all torn up, and I had the black pants and all that, and
yeah,
nobody knew who I was. They thought I was Freddy Krueger, and I'm
yeah.
thinking, can you imagine somebody confusing Freddy Krueger with Wolverine? It's like
Yeah,
that
and
would never
yeah.
happen. Yeah, it's just so crazy.
Well, to be fair, that Wolverine was wasn't typical. He wasn't your typical Wolverine. Just walking around drinking in the bar.
Yeah, that was my Wolverine. That was
you
my
know?
Wolverine growing up.
Yeah, so it's a special kind of Wolverine. That guy,
Yeah.
one of the better kind. I mean, that whole patch mentality was
Oh, that was
fantastic.
all sick. Yeah, patch,
For them
man.
to do that and really smart and Madripoor introducing
Oh,
Madripoor, which is
it's great.
huge. This that it's like almost the opposite of the Savage Land. Savage
Yeah,
Land is
yeah,
bright
really.
and sunny, and then you got Madripoor over here, it's like dark and the scum of the earth.
So we have a few people coming in our chat to Comic Book University. That's my buddy Bill. He goes to the same
Nice.
comic book store as I do, and he reviews tons of comics, more than me.
Oof.
And so he's Professor Bill. We call him Professor Bill
Nice,
from Comic Book
nice.
University. Literally, you have a question, you just ask him, and he'll answer. Half the time, I
That's
watch his
fantastic.
videos just to like get
Yeah, gain
explanation on
information.
characters. Yeah, yeah. I know he's the information guy. It's like, I need information. Um, but yeah, so pretty cool. Okay, so do you have a favorite character? Do you want
uh,
or a couple of characters, or however you want to?
I mean, it's kind of I'm everywhere. I'm everywhere because especially with the X-Men stuff, man, it's so varied and so many interesting things happening. But I'm a kind of New Mutants fan, just
Yeah.
because I always feel like the best comic books are about growth.
Yep.
And while growing up, reading the New Mutants, I mean, from 1 to 100, you can see them literally grow, and that's fantastic. Each issue they're maturing, and their belief systems, religion. I mean, New Mutants tackled everything.
Yep.
And then you get into that Sienkiewicz run, which is just mind-boggling, life-changing. And you read some of that Demon Bear stuff,
Oh yeah.
and then that kind of destroys your world, And then it turns into X-Force, and
Yes.
it introduces this character, the character Deadpool, and it's just
Deadpool.
like,
who's that?
Yeah,
Never heard of it.
yeah. It's funny because while growing up, at that time, I was collecting the Mutants, but at that time, 50 issues would come out already, and I'd backtrack and try to get all those 50 issues. And by the time I caught up, it was the time for Deadpool to come out, and I literally stopped right before Deadpool because I was like, this is stupid. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm not getting this. I had like 1 through 96, and I was like, that's it. No more.
Oh my God,
I don't want to know where this is going.
We have the same story. Same story. Okay, so I was not a big New Mutants person. And then I was kind of like, okay, they're kind of cool, whatever. And then honestly, recently I've gone back and started rereading the old issues that I've gotten.
Yeah.
I love Danny. Danny has
my
become
God.
one of my all-time favorites. But and then literally I'm going through my old issues. I'm like, and I'm thinking like, oh, I've got that Deadpool, don't I? And I was like, no, I don't. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
But literally I stopped and then I started again with X-Force because I've got X-Force number 1, X-Force number 2, X-Force. But like literally everybody has X-Force number 1. Like everyone has X-Force number 1. That's just like a generic title everyone has. But and I'm thinking like, I was just not a Deadpool guy. And I just thought like, who is this Deadpool character?
Yeah, he was just out of left field. I don't want to say he was advanced. I don't want to give it that much credit, but I guess he was. I guess he was ahead of the times. Maybe, I don't know. So maybe the world wasn't ready for him.
Yeah, maybe. Now they can't get enough of them. What are your thoughts? So we've got some questions here from the viewers. Comic Book Fan Gaming. He's been on probably every Friday with me talking about WandaVision, which is great.
Yeah.
So he's saying, what do you think about the X-Men cartoons, movies, that kind of stuff? Are you a fan of the outside media?
I'm gonna be that guy, unfortunately, who's gonna say the greatest X-Men cartoon is X-Men Evolution. I'm sorry.
Someone said X-Men Evolution last week.
I'm sorry. Yeah. X-Men Evolution is kind of, I mean, the classic 90s and cartoon was great or whatever. But again, for me, it's all about growth. And in X-Men Evolution, the growth of the characters is just phenomenal. So just phenomenal. You become a family with them.
I have that on Blu. I can't tell, but I can't tell if it's a Blu-ray. I've got the full set on Blu-ray or DVD. I'm not sure which one it is.
That's a hard set to find.
I know.
That is a hard set to find. Trust me, I've been looking for it, but they just recently put it up on Disney, maybe somewhere.
Yeah. Okay. I'm the pre-order champion. I'm the pre-order heavyweight champion. The second, okay, there's a Gamera. We're not talking kaiju, but Gamera Godzilla sets. I pre-order every Ultraman set. Like literally, if you don't pre-order the second something comes on, you're not getting it. Like, and I remember getting the Godzilla set, and it's like hundreds of dollars on eBay now. It's like, yeah.
I'm the opposite guy. I'll wait till the pre-order goes, and then I'll be like. Maybe 20 years from now, I'll find that it underneath the table at a comic book convention for $10. Doesn't happen, but hope springs eternal.
Well, we got 1407 Gray Malkin in the chat. We missed you last night or on Friday night for WandaVision talk, but Danny Moonstar is his ex-crush. Yes, I'm going to steal her away from you. I think.
Well, I'm not going to say everyone's because I had a big crush on Rain. Wolfsbane.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
So what do you think of the movie? What do you think of the movie? I thought the actors were good, but the movie kind of fell flat a little bit.
I'm like you and what you said last week that you got to separate movie from comics.
Yeah.
Once you separate that, you can start enjoying them more. And just like you said, I mean, you want the perfect movie, you got it. It's right there in your comic book. It's right there. Exactly. It's separated. And so the movie I saw, and I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. I mean, they took liberties, which they can do.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Mhm.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. The special effects looked great, and it was scary, you know. And listen, I mean, growing up, just the idea of a New Mutants movie. Who would have thought a New Mutants movie? I would have told like seven. Yeah. So
I mean,
listen,
dude,
I'll take whatever they throw at me. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna just graciously accept it. You know.
yeah. Last week I got White Vision, right? Which was
Yeah.
my vision growing up. West Coast
Okay.
Avengers, right?
All right.
I got to see that in live action. I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. Like, if you went back in time and said to little J Man, hey, little guy, you're gonna get an Avengers movie. You're gonna get Thanos. You're gonna like what? Thanos? I'm like, no. Like, for us, we had the Reg Brown or Captain America and the Nicholas Hammond, which I love, Spider-Man. But it's like, to us, it's like Spider-Man was shooting ropes out of his thing. And we're like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And now, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
So batshit crazy.
So great. Yeah. The New Mutants should have been a show. Yeah. It looked like it
could be.
It still could be. It was kind of like it was setting up that way. It was almost like this was the setup for like a grand thing. And then I think what happened was they realized that there ain't going to be another movie. So they're like, let's just throw in the Demon Bear quickly and shoehorn that in and have them fight it at the end. And you're like, okay. It almost felt like the first 2/3 were a different thing than the last act, right?
I mean, and it's great because Boone said that, you know, he was planning to do a trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And in the trilogy, I mean, the third one was going to be Inferno, which is just,
yeah, that's crazy.
I mean,
how would you even do that?
An Inferno movie, you know, and
like
one can pray and hope, but I mean, if by some force of nature, if the Celestials come down and grab Boone and grab Feige and just shake them together, imagine an Inferno movie in the MC universe. Spider-Man swinging
like
at a mailbox.
And everything. Yeah, I know. Wait, look,
I know.
Okay. Now, even now, I'm thinking that ain't happening. But I mean, I don't know.
You can never say never. You can never
say never.
Today's market, you never say never.
And even if they did Inferno, it's just like Infinity War, where Infinity War really isn't really Infinity War. Like, from what we know, it's not like Jim Starlin.
Yeah,
and really, it was the Infinity Gauntlet was sort of what they sort of loosely adapted. And because Infinity War, I'm like, well, there's no Magus, there's no evil versions of the superheroes. Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
This is an Infinity War. Like,
you'd have to do Infinity Watch. You'd have to do Infinity. You know.
I know. I love Adam Warlock. Adam Warlock got shafted, and Wonder Man, my boy Wonder Man, got shafted too in these movies a bit.
I mean, but you physically saw him. So and Adam Warlock in one of the movies.
Oh, right, yeah. He got shafted. He's the one who's going to take down Thanos, man.
I know. So, but you know, maybe 10 years, maybe Marvel phase 18.
Phase 18.
You know.
The problem is that I'm not going to be. I can't die. I need to be immortal because I'm going to miss all these movies.
It's funny. I was talking to my friend the other day, and we were, you know, talking about life and such, you know, health and whatever. And I said, you know, what's going to keep me healthy now? I got to watch these movies.
I know.
I mean, this is going to be the thing that drives me to health. Drives me to be a healthy individual, because I want to be 80 or 90 so I can see, you know. I can see this happen.
I'm going to be that guy who's on his deathbed saying, I need to see, you know, Avengers Part 27. You know, it's like, and then I'll get the early screening, and then everyone on Twitter will hate me. They're like, why does this old fart get to see, just because he's dying, why does he get to
make a wish dream?
Make a wish. I need to see, you know. Okay. Well, I'm going to bring in our next guest in just a second. So any closing stuff you want to say?
Not really. Just, you know, I'm all for comics, and just, you know, read comics. Read comics a lot. No comics, movies. Yeah. Movies and comics are separate. Please keep them separate. And, you know, I don't know. Be cool to each other, I guess.
Sure.
I don't know.
All right, awesome. Okay, well, thanks so much for coming on.
Nice meeting you, please, man.
Yeah, for chatting.
Good show. Keep it up.
And yeah, and we're always on Friday nights in the Danger Room, and a lot of times I'll phase in. I'm calling it phase to honor Kitty. I phase people in so people can come and join in the conversation. So whatever's happening in the world with Marvel or
Yeah,
X-Men, we talk on Friday nights. So if you ever wanna
yeah.
pop in the chat, pop on in.
I love that you call her Sprite too. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. That shows who you are.
Yeah.
You were calling her Sprite last week, and I was like, oh
What?
my god.
All right, dude. Thank you so much
Ciao.
for coming on, and
All right, thank you.
take it easy.
Okay, bye bye.
All right. All right. Let's get the next person in here. All right. So we're gonna bring in Chad next. Chad, how is it going, man?
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. It's great to connect with the fans. Now, I think were you through the X-Men Facebook group or the New Mutants one? I can't remember.
I don't remember either. I'm in all.
I know. I know. I just typed in X-Men and then just joined everything that I could join.
That's right.
So I don't even know what I'm part of anymore. So you want to give us just a quick, like, kind of, a little bit about yourself? Why, how did you get into X-Men?
Sure. So I got into X-Men back in the early '90s through the animated show, and that's what got me on Saturday mornings. And then we had a comic book store in town called Crazy Eddie's, and so I would go there all the time. I'm also a big card collector, so I collect the superhero cards. So I did that and a bunch of comics. I got in through X-Force, X-Factor, X-Men, all that back in the early '90s, and I did that until Age of Apocalypse, and then I kind of took a break.
Yep.
And then you have high school, college, that kind of stuff, and then I got back into it in my 20s and have been doing it ever since.
Cool. Yeah, I kind of took a break as well. I was in there for X-Force. I was big into the '90s, and then the Image stuff all came in. And I'm someone who likes Rob Liefeld and like Eric Larson and all those guys, Jim Lee and all that, and Tom McFarlane. And I know that's kind of, people look back and say, oh, it was kind of whatever. But it got me out of my ass to the comic shops every week to pick stuff up. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I've gone back and read a bunch of what I've missed. But yeah, it's great to be back into it. I really enjoy reading.
Have you gotten any of the Dawn of X stuff? Like, are you into the current stuff?
Yes. Yeah, I'm a little behind because similar to Javier, I do the trades, the volume. Yep. So a little bit behind the most current ones. Like I haven't done Age of X. I'm sorry, I've done Age of X stuff, but not X of Swords. That's what I mean. So right. I haven't gotten to X of Swords yet, but I just finished the first volume of X Factor. Yep. I'm 2 volumes into X-Men, a couple volumes into Marauders, X-Force. I'm getting caught up. So
okay, yeah. So you'll be, yeah. I don't know how. Is it like 6 months? No, like is it like 6 months behind? And
then maybe 6 months behind.
Something like that. They collect it all together. Because I'm reviewing it every week, every Wednesday. I've got to do my review of the current X book, so I got to go and get everything kind of the day of. But I transferred to digital on some of them because I just don't have the space to store the books anymore.
I do digital. There's not really. I'm here in rural Kentucky. There's not really a comic book store around. Right. That's kind of why I do a lot of card collecting too. I got some bids out on eBay on the new Marvel Ages set that came out because they're easy to store.
Well, so check this out. I've got Series 1, Series 2, Series 3 of the Marvel cards. When they came out, I guess it was 1991, 2, 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
I have the whole set of all of them. I collected them and went to the shop and picked up cards literally all the time. And I got all of Series 1, all of Series 2 of the Marvel Masterpiece cards. I got to meet Joe Jusko, who did a lot of the art for, yeah, and I got him to sign. Actually, I wonder if I can pull it out here and show it to you. It's pretty cool. Yep, I think I can get it out. I don't. Gotta be careful. All right, it's in here. I'll pull it out here. Check this out. I got him to do. I got a Namor.
Oh wow!
That's nice. So that's the corner. He was selling the corners.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So Namor's my favorite. I love Namor. But yeah, so I was able to get one of those. So that was really cool. But so have you been collecting the cards since then, or?
Yeah, I started back when I was just a little kid, like 8, 9 years old, and I've been going ever since.
Wow. So do you keep them in like how do you store cards? Like I just stored them in those binders. Is that still a thing?
Yeah, they're in binders. That's real convenient because then you can flip through them and see them all.
Yeah, I like doing that. And I remember the foil cards for Series 3. Was it Series 3 that had the foil cards?
I think so.
Yeah, they were really cool. I remember thinking those were kind of neat. And on the back you'd have their power levels, and you could read about the characters and stuff. That was kind of cool.
It was back before there was Wikipedia, and you could look that stuff up online.
You know what I use for my information? The TSR Marvel Advanced Role Playing Game, which we say face rip FA. It was like fighting, agility, strength, endurance, psyche, intuition, and no, it was what was it? Reasoning, intuition, psyche, something like that. And that had a judge's book, which had all the characters in it. So I would read all the characters from that, and that's kind of what I use as my sort of encyclopedia if I without trying to figure it out some other way or whatever. So those are kind of cool.
Electronically nowadays too, they have like Topps has an app for Marvel Collect, and you can collect Marvel cards online, electronic cards.
I saw an ad for that just the other day on, I don't know if it was like Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or one of those platforms, but that's really cool. So do you have any favorite X-Men characters, or do you just like a bunch of people?
Yeah, I like probably Nightcrawler would be number one. Yes, yeah, he's great because he goes a little deeper into things. Like a lot of characters, their morals are very gray, or it's just kind of like who's on the scale of I do kill people versus I don't. But he's got some levels to the way he views things that make it real interesting. So I know he has his own little spinoff coming up. Maybe it's already out now, but I haven't gotten around to getting to his new comic that he's going to have. But
no, the last thing was he was featured, I think, in a giant size X-Men. He had a major story in that. That was the last time I saw him on his own. The first comic book store that I ever went to, and I still have these three things. They're on my shelf over there. Do you remember the PVCs? They were like, Nightcrawler was kind of like this. It was like a little PVC figurine.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought Nightcrawler, Archangel, and Wolverine, and I still have those. And I've got Vision. I always wanted Vision, so I've got him on order now. But those three were my childhood ones from my first ever comic shop. I loved Nightcrawler. I played him in the arcade game a lot. I don't know if you were a fan of the arcade game.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so they're doing an arcade one-up version of that. I'm not sure if I don't really get those, but I might get this one. It's like it's an arcade, but it's like, I don't know, like 3/4 size or something, right? Like, I don't know if you've heard of those arcade one-ups. It's like a replica.
I had X-Men games on every system I ever had.
Oh yeah, me too. Yeah, the Genesis one where you have to reset the button. You have to actually press the reset button when you're. I think you're trapped. Were you trapped in the danger room? I think you were trapped in the danger room. And then you had to reset it, and you actually had to physically reset your game to shut down the danger room or something like that. I can't remember exactly.
Oh yeah, great. It looks like 1407 got the name. Yeah, Way of X. That's the new
Way of X. Okay, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's the one that's coming up. So that's going to be interesting because this whole Powers of X, this whole storyline, Hickman run. Yeah, Nightcrawler's going to explore the moral consequences of what went on with this whole, bringing people back and, having their own country and whatnot. So we'll see how that goes.
It's been pretty interesting. And have you got, so you may not have gotten to where they're doing this thing now where guys can like combine powers, and it's like they can like mesh their powers together and create a different kind of effect. That's been going on pretty. Yeah, that's so you might just, I don't know when that started. Maybe Gray Malkin in the chat can throw in if he remembers when that started. It's pretty recent. It's hard for me to tell because literally I'm reading like every Wednesday, so I lose track of what issue numbers we're on. You know what I mean? Like I don't even know. I didn't even realize that there was 2 trades already of X-Men. Like crap, that's like I don't know. They're on issue like 18 or something. I think.
Right.
But yeah, so a few issues ago they introduced this idea that you can like kind of like combine your powers. So like different people combine with other mutants and do a new thing. It's kind of cool. But have you been into any of like the
Sounds like
newer like the movies or anything like that?
Infinity Warps. You remember Infinity Warps? Part of the where they were, it was like an alternate reality where they combined two different Marvel characters together, and they had a whole spin off of that for a little bit.
Oh, maybe yes. I don't
Yeah,
think I got into that one as much.
yeah.
All
So
right,
yeah,
comic book Professor Bill, thank you so much for dropping by, man. That's awesome. Have a good dinner. Save me some for next time we're at Gotham. Our comic book shop is called Gotham Central Comics in Mississauga. It's awesome, and yeah, Professor Bill's always there, so that's cool. So yeah, have you liked the movies, Chad? Do you have any favorite of the movies, or you think that they represented the X-Men well, or not as much?
I like the movies. They started out well with the first couple,
Mhm.
and then Dark Phoenix kind of threw it off, and then they started out well with the reboot, and then again kind of Dark Phoenix threw it off. They just can't get that one right. So
I don't know. Yeah. So X2 is probably like, what do you think was the height of it? Well, do you count Logan? I guess we'd count
yeah,
Wolverine.
Logan's good. That's kind of one they got right towards the end.
Yeah, I'd say Logan's up there. I like Dark Phoenix, but I like Sophie Turner, and I like the fact that Cyclops and her, like it was Cyclops and Jean finally. It was about them finally. It's like X-Men 1, I'm like, Cyclops does nothing. Cyclops is my favorite. My entire arm here. This is an 8-hour tattoo of Cyclops and a Sentinel. So I love Cyclops. He did nothing in the first movie. In the second movie, he was knocked out and then didn't do anything.
Right.
The third movie, he was killed, and then they didn't bring him back anymore. I'm like, and then he was just like a bit character. I'm like, well, he's the leader. Like, what is happening here? And then finally in Dark Phoenix,
Yeah.
Cyclops actually does stuff, and they got his powers right for once too. Like what he was doing made sense, And I'm like, the movie's not the best, but at least I got to see Cyclops and Jean
training
do
moments
stuff.
in it. They had a few things they got right. They just didn't stick the landing.
So, what do you think about the MCU? You want the mutants in there? What do you think they're going to do if they how are they going to get them in there?
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to get them in there, but I'm excited to have them in there. So I'm always happy. I'm always happy to have mutants in my movies.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you have to have them in. There's such a big part of Marvel, and so much so that when they've tried to use other characters like Yo-Yo, who's from Agents of Shield, they changed her into an Inhuman. It's like they start to run out of like Shield characters. They're like, oh, let's just take her and pretend she's Inhuman, and then go from there. And it's like you got to get these people in here. Like I don't know what they're gonna do, but they need to get them in like kind of ASAP.
My fear is they won't give them enough screen time to give them the respect they deserve. That they'll serve kind of background, or they'll be pushed out by all the characters they've already built up so much. So I hope they have their own separate set of movies or series or whatnot to really explore them a bit, so that they give them what they deserve.
So Javier says Cyclops is right. I have the shirt to prove it as well. What do you think? Was Cyclops right?
Oh, yeah. Cyclops. Yeah, I think he's over time been proven right. Maybe they didn't think that at the beginning, but I think he's been proven right.
He's right. That's it. It's a period. It's not even. It's not a debate. It's obvious. It's like he was obvious. So okay, let's change direction here and say you are now a mutant. Okay, what is your mutant power, man? What would your kind of dream mutant power be?
I was thinking about that, and I'm gonna say luck, a probability.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a good one because you can hide it, so no one really knows you're using it, like domino or long shot or black cat or something, where you can kind of tilt the odds in your favor. You can get away with it that way.
That would be cool, yeah, because it's like you could do a lot of and they actually represented that well. And I remember, I think it Scarlet Witch where they said, or somebody had said that they couldn't represent certain powers on screen because it's like they didn't have a clue on how to film that. And then Deadpool 2, and then Deadpool 2 came out, and you have Zazie Beetz as Domino. And you know what? She was probably one of the more exciting parts of that, actually.
Yeah, definitely the highlight of that movie.
Yeah, and like the way that she was just walking around and like shit was happening, and she's just like immune to it all. I thought that was great, man. Like, Yeah. So now, what about the cartoons? Right. So you like the '90s cartoon, right?
Yeah, I like the '90s cartoon. I liked Wolverine in the X-Men. I wish that
Yep.
had run longer than it did. So I like that one from the more recent set of.
That one I for sure have on Blu-ray. I'm positive I've got that one on Blu-ray somewhere over there. It's
Because
it's
Age of Apocalypse, and then they canceled it, and I was getting so excited. So
yeah. None of the except for the '90s ones, none of them seem to last that long. Am I right? I could be wrong on my. I think how many seasons? There's 5 seasons of the '90s cartoon. I want
yeah,
to say.
and Wolverine and the X-Men only got one season.
Yeah, that's like a one disc set. I'm just looking on my shelf here. I can't. I've got a whole bunch of crap in front of it, so I can't tell how many sets it was. But yeah, that's a one set thing. Yeah, and I think it's 5 seasons for the '90s cartoon. So wow, that '90s cartoon really covered a lot of topics, actually.
Yeah, it got pretty deep for a kids cartoon into some various concepts that you wouldn't think would be in cartoons nowadays. I don't think they pull that off like they did back then.
X-Men Evolution. Oh, X-Men Evolution was 4 seasons. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that's crazy. I'm gonna look that up and see. I'm thinking maybe X-Men. Maybe I don't have the full thing. Maybe I only have like a volume one or something. It's hard to keep track. I've got like 3,000 movies, so it's hard to like keep track of everything that I have. So maybe I don't have the full series of that, which I'm gonna have to look into if I don't. Um, so that's pretty solid. All right. So anything else you want to mention, Chad, before I bring in my next guest?
Thanks so much for having me on, Jay, man. Appreciate it.
All right, cool, man. Well, all right. Well, thanks so much for coming on and sharing your thoughts on X-Men and everything. It's and my there's always an open invite for any of the fans to pop in on the chats, and we phase people in sometimes on Friday nights. So I do a quick show, and then people from the comments can usually come in and talk with us as well. So I want it to be more interactive. That's why I'm doing this thing. I want to interact a little bit more than some other channels do, where it's like, because you see people in the comments, you're like, who are these people? You know what I mean? They're just random names.
Right.
So I think it's cool to like kind of get to know a little bit at least with everybody. So yeah, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks so much.
All right, see ya. Okay, final guest for tonight. I'm gonna bring him in right now. Now we had some issues. How's it going, JD? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Jay. Hey, how are you?
All right, good. How are you? And I can hear you fine, so we're good. Yeah.
If I can adjust
focus.
my cam. Yeah, I think
that's better.
There we go.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
All
cool.
Right.
Cool, man. So how's it going?
How are you? Good.
Cool. So
thanks for having me on.
Oh, thanks for coming on. Yeah, for sure. Do you want to do a quick little bio and then tell us how you got into X-Men?
Sure. I was born and raised in Queens, New York, and I grew up watching all kinds of Marvel stuff. I mean, I watched Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, which I loved growing up. I also watched the Lou Ferrigno Incredible Hulk. I used to watch that with my grandma, actually. Mm-hmm. She passed a few years ago, but it was funny to come full circle. And actually, I brought her to bring. I'm trying to remember. I think it was the first Avengers that I brought her to see.
Nice.
So it was cool to see her, reaction to the Incredible Hulk now, as opposed to when I used to watch it with her when I was probably like 3 or 4 when I used to watch it with her. That's a nice memory that I had with her. But growing up, I used to watch anything that was Marvel related, and I didn't make the connection until I got a little bit older that Marvel was always my preference over DC. I know you're a big DC fan, but Marvel was always my preference growing up.
Well, okay, so yeah, depending on your age and when you grew up, the Marvel comics. Okay, so like because I love all the superheroes, and when I was a kid, we didn't realize a lot of things. Like I would literally watch Super Friends, and I'd be thinking, well, how come Spider-Man's not on Super Friends? Like, why isn't he with them?
I used to watch Super Friends also, actually.
Yeah. So and everything you've mentioned, I literally own it all. I own every season of Hulk, every season of the all the Spider-Man cartoons that are available to purchase legally. I have them all, and I love all that stuff. And yeah, I never thought too much. And I actually have a picture. Maybe I'll post it. I have a picture of me as a little kid, and I have a Spider-Man. He's about a huge stuffed toy of Spider-Man and a huge stuffed toy of Superman, both of them. and I've got them
Wow.
both in the background, and I'm holding a Yoda puppet from Empire Strikes Back.
That's so cool.
And I've got that photo. I should post it. I might post. Maybe I'll post it on Facebook. And it's, and I also have like Dukes of Hazzard toys and all this other
Right,
stuff.
right.
But I never made that distinction. Like, I loved everything, you know, and
Right,
Superman's my favorite. But the thing is, it's like I never see it that way. But once I got older, I actually read more Marvel comics than DC comics.
Okay.
But Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, like those are kind of those are my three favorite characters. Then after that, they're all Marvel.
Got it.
You know, you know what I mean? It's like the majority is Marvel, because I feel that Marvel has more, I don't want to say generic, but if you think of the A characters, the B characters, the C characters, the B characters of Marvel are better than the B characters of DC.
Okay.
If that makes, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
I always felt the stories, like the background stories of the characters for Marvel, were a lot deeper than DC. I mean, yeah, Batman has that, you know, part of his story where his parents get killed, and Superman is an orphan from another planet, and you know, Wonder Woman has her story as well. But I just feel like a lot of what people connect with, you know, the whole mutant aspect and being an outcast kind of thing, I think people connect with that more, which is why I think the whole, you know, all the Marvel and MCU movies have been so successful as well.
Yeah. So when Marvel first came around, that was their intent. Like, you see, because DC predates them by like decades. The idea was that, you know, Superman is almost like a god figure. Wonder Woman is a goddess. Even Batman is human, but realistically, like, we can't be Batman. He's trained. Nobody could train that much and be that good, right? Like, so it's like they were like higher level, and then Marvel came in and said, let's make these characters like, these are just 4 scientists who got powers. You know, these are regular average people who have an X gene, and they get these powers, and they're just regular people with regular day problems. And this is where you get into giant, like, I mean, I love the X-Men, but really giant size. I don't know what it is for you, but like giant size, where they're like, look, let's get, you know, Nightcrawler, who's like a German guy. Let's get, you know, Storm, who's African. Let's get Colossus, who's Russian. Let's get you know, Sunfire, who's Japanese. Let's get Thunderbird. You know, so you connected all of these people, and you're like, wow, this is a super team. You know, and then you're like, wow, like, you know, now I'm really invested in these characters more. So, and Wolverine's Canadian. Woohoo!
So you're Canadian, I guess.
I'm Canadian, right? Yeah, I'm Canadian.
Okay.
So I was like, yay, Wolverine. So like, this is so cool. And I think X-Men drew a lot of people in that way.
Right. I agree.
So do you have any favorite like characters, or do you just like everybody?
I do. I would say Wolverine is definitely one of my all-time favorite. I actually thought it was cool that, you know, once X-Men became mainstream, and, you know, Hugh Jackman took it to a whole other level, doing so many movies, playing the role, you know, and then it became like a household name. Like, everybody knows who Wolverine is now. And, you know, in the 90s, nobody knew. Like you mentioned,
I mentioned, I dressed as Wolverine. I'm like, who are you?
Yeah, exactly. So it's I love it. I mean, you know, there's I used to work in the entertainment industry, and a lot of it was Broadway based. And I remember I had posters because, you know, around the office, all the staff had their own cubicles with, you know, Broadway posters up, things like that. And I remember I said, oh, I didn't know we can decorate our cubicles however we wanted. So I put a Marvel poster behind me. And my boss, I remember one time, you know, she didn't want to tell me what I did was wrong, but she said, you know, we try and keep everything, you know, sort of Broadway related. And I want to say maybe a good 6 months later, they cleared the Spider-Man Broadway show. So I told my boss, I'm like, well, now I don't have to take it down. It's Broadway now, right? So
that's right.
And she was kind of like, you know, touche. You don't have to take down your Marvel stuff anymore. So
my job is I have, my day job is rubbish. It's basically like sort of like it's not accounting, but sort of like that. So I have my entire cubicle is filled with pictures of Superman, Wonder Woman, Scarlet
Right.
Witch, Vision. It's
Oh, that's
all
awesome.
it's the entire thing. Everyone knows I'm a big Marvel guy. I got my tattoos.
Yeah.
I wear my sleeves up. I'm like, you guys can see who I am.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
that's awesome.
so what okay, so I was asking, I forgot to ask Javier this actually. Shoot. What would your mutant power what mutant power would you want?
I would have to say probably psychic abilities,
Oh, yes.
but in connection with telekinesis. I've always been fascinated by telekinesis
Yeah, so Jean Grey.
growing up.
You
Yeah.
want to have the Jean Grey abilities. Do you think it'd be hard to try to block out, like, would you just read everyone's mind, or would you think like, I'm trying to keep it private, but it'd be too tempting? Like if I had psychic
Kind of
powers,
like,
I would read everybody's
yeah,
mind all the time.
kind of like Professor X, you mean, where you kind of feel when things are going on and
Right,
things,
right,
or you feel. I would say he's like an extreme empath almost. When someone's,
right.
feeling somebody's distraught or in despair, those are all things that he picks up on, even when it's not someone that he knows,
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah, so it's just more like, yeah, just like the feel of everybody, and not so much intrusive, right?
Right. Yeah.
Did you so are you into the comics as much right now,
I
or not?
am. I used to read. A lot of comic books growing up when I was a kid. And funny story, I'm sure I know when I've mentioned this, a lot of comic book collectors mention that the same thing happened to them. But I want to say when I was about 11, I had a ton of X-Men, Wolverine comic books. This was probably the late 80s, maybe early 90s. And my mom, I guess, was cleaning my room one day, and she decided to toss all my comic books because I had them. I had piles and piles. I probably had a few hundred.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Oh no.
And so I think after that, I was kind of like, do I start trying to recoup all the comics that I had, the ones that I loved? And I did have a binder with a few of them, like the Death of Superman. I had an
Yeah.
X-Men comic book in there. There was a few that I protected and I had in sleeves, but that was just a handful. So and I still have those, but I want to say there was maybe 10 that I saved, but everything else I lost.
It's gone.
So
Oh
I just
man.
I never got around to starting to collect again. But being that I started watching, I'm sure everybody's watching WandaVision. I ordered the House of M to sort of
Oh
kind of
nice.
get
Yep.
a background on her story and all that. So I'm starting to read up on that.
Yeah,
More recently.
I went back to my West Coast Avengers ish. I love West Coast Avengers. I went back to that with Vision and Scarlet Witch. I have the miniseries of that. Not
Right.
every issue, but again, when I was a kid, it was very difficult to try to collect everything. So like I've got Vision and the Scarlet Witch, like number 6, and then I missed 7, and
Oh
I've got
wow.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Like it's like you couldn't there wasn't a reliable way for me to obtain comics on a regular basis. So I would just go to the
Right.
shop and take my change out and be like, oh, okay, here's a buck, and
Yeah.
I
What
get
can I
what I could.
afford? Yeah.
What
Exactly.
can I get? And I just go by, literally, I'm like, oh, I like Hulk. Okay, let's just get this Hulk comic,
Yeah.
So it's tough. So Javier is saying Cypher's powers is I guess is the powers that he was saying. Yeah, I mean, Cypher's a wicked character, and now he's married, which is great. This entire current storyline with him was really
Yeah.
neat. He's married and everything, so that's kind of cool. Did you like the movies? Like the Wolverine movies and Deadpool and X-Men and all that, or?
I did, and I know a lot of people, a lot of comic book fans, they're pretty harsh on the movies, but I kind of take them for what they were, and
Yep.
I know they're. a lot of them aren't close to what the comic book stories are. Like obviously everyone hates Dark Phoenix. I went in there with an open mind, and I was excited to see it. I saw it in theaters opening weekend. But and obviously that movie is so that storyline is so in depth that it would have to be like 2 or 3 movies, I would say.
Yeah.
But honestly, the reason I love the X-Men animated series and why I think it's so much better than Evolution and any other, X-Men and Wolverine, although I thought that was pretty good also.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I feel like the animated series from the early 90s was so great is because they did such an amazing job translating a lot of those comic book stories accurately into the cartoon. The Dark Phoenix saga being one of them. Good. And I actually recently went back to I picked it up at Barnes and Noble, the graphic novel of the Dark Phoenix, and reading through it, I was like, this is so similar to. I mean, there were some distinctions, but it was very similar to the.
It's very close.
Yeah, to the animated series, which I love, and close. I feel like I haven't come across that in any other cartoon series where it's that accurate to the comic book. So that's why I feel like X-Men the animated series is top notch for me.
Yeah, you'd have to go back to the Spider-Man 67 or 66 whatever cartoon where a lot of the beginning ones were pretty close to what the comics were, but just condensed versions because it was shorter episodes. But like I've got the first appearance of Phoenix, the first appearance of Dark Phoenix, first appearance of White Queen, like right there in the glass case. So
I'm jealous.
Yeah. Well, I think the first Phoenix is going for a few hundred.
Wow.
So I don't. You can probably it's available. It's available. You just gotta spend the money on it. But
yeah, exactly.
I saw the Dark Phoenix movie with Sophie. I saw it opening night, first showing. Whatever it was, I took the day off work. I saw it by myself, and then I went the next day with my friends and saw it again.
Wow.
None of these movies are the comics. None of them at all.
Right.
Like,
no, yeah. I agree.
Not even Captain America, the First Avenger, which I think is a 10 out of 10. I think First Avenger is 10 out of 10. It is not the comics. So you have to remove that. Just put that out of your mind.
Exactly.
Just go watch it and be like, that was a cool movie. I liked it, and then walk out. And if it was a great movie, then it was a great movie.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the one of my favorite X-Men characters, Rogue, I feel like they didn't really do her justice in the movies because, they gave her, bits and parts in each of the movies. And I know there's a Rogue cut where she has a bigger role in Days of Future Past. But it doesn't compare to what her role really should be. And I was hoping, and I'm still hoping that now that they're doing the crossover and bringing the X-Men into the MCU, I'm hoping that, there's a confrontation there with Miss Marvel where she actually, they display powers. That. Yeah. And she permanently, takes her powers, because that's actually probably one of my favorite storylines, in addition to Infinity Gauntlet and, the Dark Phoenix saga.
Well, sad story on my part is I think it was Avengers Annual number 10, if I'm not mistaken, was the first appearance of Rogue, which I had, and I actually sold it for like nothing. Like it was like way back, where and I wasn't thinking too much into the future of is this going to be worth something?
Worth anything? Yeah.
I when I was a little, I don't know how old I was, but I was whenever this came out, I had the first appearance of Punisher. And I actually ripped the cover
by accident.
No. As a kid, I ripped it off and put it on my wall. Like I put comic covers on my wall.
Wow.
Right. And you're like,
I think I remember that one. He's like holding the machine gun and he's like shooting it on the cover, right?
It's sort of like a targeting thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember him shooting. Yeah.
It's brutal. And I had the second appearance, which is the one right after, and it was so beat up. I just gave that away to someone because it was like whatever.
Yeah.
But okay, so I know that we talked a little earlier, and you wanted to mention a friend of yours. So do you want to talk about her for a second? I'm going to get the link up here for everybody.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, working in the entertainment industry, I became close friends with Susan Varon, and she actually got the role for playing Josie, the bar owner in the Daredevil Netflix series, which I think ran for 3 seasons, if I'm not mistaken. But it was a recurring role. She was really excited about it. And I support her in everything that she does. And I just think she's an amazing actress. And, I'm hoping, I know she was mentioning to me that there was plans on crossing over a lot of the shows.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Iron Fist, Daredevil, Luke Cage. So, and what was the other? Jessica Jones, right?
Yeah, and Punisher, Jessica Jones. Yep.
Punisher. Yeah. I know there was a plan to cross them all over, so I'm still hoping that's a possibility as well. Yeah.
I love the Daredevil show. We can go a little off topic from X-Men. Daredevil's in my top 5 favorite Marvel characters. I have a Daredevil shelf. I have some graded comics. I have the first Stiltman appearance. I have the Death of Elektra. What else do I got up there?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I love Daredevil. That TV series is in my top 5 favorite TV shows of all time, and we're talking like up there with like a Star Trek and Doctor Who and all that.
Same here. So I thought it was really well done.
I loved it. Like every second, every decision made. I remember you say because you messaged me privately. You're like, oh, Josie. I was like, holy shit, I'm like, oh my god. So I didn't want to get too excited because we're chatting back and forth.
Right. Yeah, I actually loved that. It was more gory than the series than I was expecting it to be. But the only thing this is being critical. The only thing is like, because I'm a Daredevil fan as well, probably not as big as you. He's not my favorite character, but I remember when I was a kid reading the Daredevil comics. I do remember him being like extremely acrobatic, and I feel like nothing that he's been in, obviously not the Ben Affleck movie, but even in the series, they don't really encompass, they don't really show off his acrobatic skills the way that, because he's supposed to be almost aligned with like Spider-Man, his acrobatic skills, and I just feel like that was something that was lacking in the series. But that's just being critical. I loved everything about that series.
Yeah, I did notice that as well. I think because they try to keep it slightly more grounded.
Right.
And a lot of people, I'll say this. Okay, so this has become Daredevil for just a minute. We love X-Men, but let's just do Daredevil for just a minute. Daredevil, when the Ben Affleck movie came out, I was actually I was at a television studio doing I was doing some production stuff. I was doing like some camera operating. I was doing a whole bunch of different roles for this TV show that was live every Saturday. And there was one of the guys that worked with me there. The Ben Affleck movie came out. He's like, "Oh, Daredevil!" He's like, "Oh, what a ripoff of Spider-Man." And I was like, that's what people always say. and I'm like, but he's not a ripoff of Spider-Man at all. And I love Spider-Man's in my top 10 also. So
same here.
And it's like, I love Daredevil. And the thing is, it's like, and I think that because the way that this show created that character, they didn't want you to think too much about Spider-Man. They wanted it to be like, this is like Daredevil. It's Hell's Kitchen. This is not a great place to be. He's, he's trying to make a difference, and he's fighting the odds because he's blind, but also Kingpin has tons of resources at his disposal. Right. So I really like that idea that he just goes and, sometimes he gets beat up and he's got to, put an ice pack on or something,
Right.
So yeah, I would have loved to have seen the acrobatics and all that as well, but they did he was a realistic ninja. Let's put it
right. Yeah. He was very agile. Which I thought was awesome. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. So anything else you want to mention before we wrap up?
Well, I know you had mentioned with one of your previous guests the Genesis, Sega Genesis games, and I actually had these in storage. So I thought I'd
oh my
mention
God,
that I actually
awesome.
have them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's X2. Yeah. So I have the Avengers game from Genesis, and I've kept that one. And now, is that the X-Men one where you're in the danger room and you have to reset the thing? Yep.
That was it.
I could not. So I would get to the end, and then I couldn't beat it. And it's like you have to restart. And I'm like, what are they talking about? And you have to actually hit restart. And who does it as a kid?
You have to. You can't hit the power button. You have to actually hit the reset button on the Genesis. Yeah. And I think I found that out, but I realized that by accident. I think I discovered it by accident, where I hit the reset button. Like, oh well, let me just start over. Maybe and I was able to get through the game that way, which I thought was kind of weird, but a weird feature to put on a game. Yeah.
I actually found out the same way. I was pissed off. I'm like, damn it, this sucks. I'm like, reset. And then it's like, and I'm like, wait, what happened? Oh my God, it's continuing
exactly.
on.
You're like, oh wait, that's what I was supposed to do.
And I'm thinking, who puts that in the game? That's so weird. I wonder how that works on emulators now.
And back then, you couldn't even look anything up online.
Oh gosh, no.
Yeah, there was no internet back then. So, and actually, the sole reason I remember, the whole reason why I got the Genesis was for the X-Men game, and I thought the colors, the music, the gameplay, for a 16-bit system. I mean, I thought they did a pretty awesome job with both of them, both the Clone Wars and the first X-Men game as well.
Yeah, they were both awesome, and I'm strongly thinking about getting that arcade X-Men because I have it on emulator and I have it. I used to have it on my phone.
Children of the Atom.
Yeah, like is that the subtitle, like the arcade one with the 6 players?
Yeah.
That was Children of the Atom.
I think Walmart carries it.
Not here, not in Canada.
Oh, okay.
I'd have to order it.
You would always have to. Yeah, you could always have somebody pick it up and mail it to you.
Yeah, well, I mean,
if they want to be nice.
If they want to be nice, and it's expensive too, because like one American I think $1 is like 7,000 Canadian dollars.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, it's not that bad, but it's like 400 US, and then it's like 800 Canadian. You're like, whoa! Like, how did that happen?
Well, I mean, I guess if anybody's planning on visiting Canada at some point, they could always bring it.
Send me an X-Men one.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thanks so much for coming. Thanks so much for coming on. And again, I invite everybody.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, every Friday we do a live stream talking about whatever's out during that week. If you ever want to pop in, come in the chat. And then
that'd be awesome.
A lot of times we bring people in, right? So it's like I've got a couple of buddies that do it with me, and then we usually bring in people from the audience as well. So it's cool. Okay.
That's awesome. Well, cool, I appreciate you having me on, and I love the fact that you're promoting the Marvel and X-Men community, because I feel like they don't get enough exposure.
No, I know. So I like the idea of connecting with like the fans, because you just see people in the comments like and they go, like, who's this guy? Like, I don't know who this guy is.
Exactly.
So it's cool. Okay.
Put a name to their face. Yeah.
All right. Cool, man.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thanks again. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, we're gonna wrap it up for right now, and I want to thank all my guests again for coming on. It's been great, connecting with everybody. So that's cool. And again, anyone out there, if they do want to phase into the Danger Room and talk some X-Men stuff, let me know in the comments of this video or any other video I post. I'm also on several Facebook groups. You can find me somewhere. I'm on Twitter. At Lifetime Nerd. You can just send me a message or whatever. And there's no requirements. You don't have to have a channel. You don't have to be promoting anything. You could just be a regular X-Men fan who just wants to talk. If you do want to promote something, for sure, go ahead, promote it, especially if it's Marvel, X-Men, something related. Even if it's DC related, that's cool too. And I will be doing my weekly X-Men talk every Wednesday. So that's every Wednesday. And that's just reviews. And then every Friday, Sean, Steven, and I will be live in the Danger Room, 6 p.m. Eastern, and we're going to be talking about whatever happens to be out. This week, looks like there's not a lot going on, so we might just do Superman and Lois. I know it's a DC thing, but it's still somewhat related, because without Superman, we wouldn't be having any of these other characters, because he was the first superhero. So that's how I justify talking about Superman. But yeah, that's it, guys. All right, we're gonna end off there. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys on Wednesday.